When you have a white core, this screams to me unprofessional. Y'all, this next one pains my entire heart. Y'all, this next one is a big one, and it happens so often than not. All right, y'all, in today's video, we're breaking down the 15 biggest Cricut mistakes that I know you're already making. And we have ranked these from not that big of a mistake to the biggest mistake. So you've got to stay till the end because I'm breaking down some of the biggest things that are infixable, that are costing you time, energy, and your money. What? I want to help you save money in this video, so if you're ready to see these mistakes so that you don't make them, stay tuned. Here's what no one is telling you when it comes to Cricut mistakes. You have to know the secrets of crafting. And in today's video, as somebody who has been using a Cricut since 2010 for the past 16 years, I'm going to lay it down to you and teach you every single thing that you have got to stop doing. I want to make sure you don't make a Cricut mistake so that it doesn't cost you the time, energy, and effort that it's cost me years learning. So if you're ready to go, let's dive in. I'm Tanner Bell, and I am a Cricketer that has been using their machine almost every single day since 2010. So I know a thing or two. And the first mistake I want to make sure you stop doing today is using the wrong transfer tape. Now in 2026, there are so many different kinds of transfer tape. You're going to see strong grip, light grip transfer tape, standard, and you may be saying, what is the one that I actually need? And here is what I want you to understand. You need to have a couple different transfer tapes because when you are putting things onto the mat and being able to take it up with transfer tape, it depends on what you're putting it on, all right? One of the ones that we absolutely adore is the Caesar Easy PSV transfer tape. Why we love this one is because it's an all-around versatile transfer tape. So if you want to have something that is going to work from super easy projects to very advanced, hard to do projects, this is a really great material that you're going to want to consider. Other mistakes that I see people making is using really cheap and generic transfer tape. Trying to save $1 when it comes to transfer tape is going to cost you a lot of money because the material it's trying to pick up is just not going to do the job. And then you're going to have a hard time getting it off the transfer tape. It's going to cost material in your blank, in your vinyl, in all the different things. So you want to be careful trying to cheap out. So stay away from generic transfer tape for sure. It's going to cost you a lot more in the long run. Now, be sure not to grab the absolute wrong transfer tape. This right here is a heat-resistant transfer tape. So this is for certain types of printable material and things like that. If you have this in your craft room and you do not know what it is, don't try to treat it as regular transfer tape because it's not. It's made for one use and one purpose. Be sure to mark it and then be able to use it just for the project it is designed for. Mistake number 2 is when I see people using cheap cardstock like that you can just pick up at Walmart or Hobby Lobby, Michaels, etc. Here's the thing about cheap cardstock. Look what happens. White core is not something that is acceptable in 2026 when it comes to crafting. When you have a white core, this screams to me unprofessional. And guess what the Cricut is doing? It is cutting the paper. So when it cuts, even if it's not as noticeable as a rip, guess what's happening? People can see your white core. It is looking like cheap, cheap, cheap from a mile away. You have to be able to invest in a quality cardstock. So quite a few years ago, I went on a hunt to say, what is the cardstock that I think is best? And after testing all of them on the market, I found one called Celebration Warehouse from a lady who has been able to run like 10 Cricut machines for every single day for multiple years. She had an amazing Etsy shop selling banners, and she knew what was good cardstock and what wasn't. And that inspired her to start this company called Celebration Warehouse. Her name's Ashley Falco. She's incredible, a dear friend of mine. But look what happens when you rip her cardstock. Boom! It is color core. So it is not noticeable when you cut it on your Cricut, and you're going to have perfect cuts. So not only does it cut like butter, it makes the finishes really, really nice as well. And I think you're going to be really impressed. So if you've been using cardstock that you've just picked up from you don't know where, you don't know if they're a quality cardstock, you don't know if it's a good poundage, anything in between, don't expect good cuts with that. Because if you watch videos like this and you see me get good cuts and you don't get good cuts, chances are it's not you, it's the paper you're trying to cut. Y'all, this next one pains my entire heart. I have been doing this for a very long time. And if I see another design where someone's putting a design on a t-shirt and it's off center, or it's like all the way up to their neckline, I am going to lose it. So let me tell you exactly what I did to fix it. So come with me. You always need to take your shirt, you need to be able to lay it out just like so, and then all you need to do is grab a t-shirt roller. This is one that we actually send our clients when you join with us. We mail you one. That's how passionate I am about this. But if you're saying, Tanner, I don't have one of these, I don't want to get one, here's the deal. I think they're non-negotiable, but I want to walk you through a few tips if you need to know exactly what to do and you don't have one of these. Number one, my favorite tip is taking the shirt, folding it in half and lining it up with the armholes. Lining up the seams of the armholes right here is going to do a little hack before you position your design. I always like to get a line in the shirt just like so. So when you're able to get a line like right here, you press it like so, half, then you'll have the perfect half marker inside the shirt, which is really handy because then you can find the middle point of your design and you'll know exactly the center of the shirt. Find the center of your design by doing the same thing with the cut heat transfer vinyl with the transfer backer. Then here's the secret. You just grab 3 or 4 fingers, and make sure to space it down from the neckline. It's really easy to do, but you have to get in the process of doing it because eyeballing it isn't going to get you good results in 2026. One thing that is a little sneak peek, I'm going to tell you, measure twice, cut once. Well, same thing here. Measure, measure, measure to make sure it's actually centered and looks good because eyeballing it only works 1 out of 3 or 4 times every single use. So you've got to be careful to make sure you are doing this the right way. Y'all, this next one is a big one and it happens so often than not. It's when we actually put our material down incorrectly. So you're able to put your material down, and if we put this face up, shiny side up, we would actually cut through the built-in transfer tape. And that's what we did with this design. And you can see that it's completely ruined because we actually cut through the backer and we didn't actually cut the heat transfer vinyl at all because we did not put it down the right way. Now, back quite a few years ago, it was so easy to say, put your heat transfer vinyl down, shiny side down. But you just have to be aware because some of these newer materials, the more specialty we get, it's not always dull side up because there's differences, there's different ways that it works together, different ways that it does. So you've got to know the difference. So what we call it now is carrier side down because we want to cut on the actual vinyl. We don't want to cut the carrier side. So one great way to be able to do this is grab whatever corner you think the best hypothesis is that it's the vinyl, right? You can just quickly take it, peel up a corner, and you're going to easily be able to see which side is the carrier, which side is the vinyl. So now we know this is vinyl side, and that needs to go up to get cut, and the carrier side needs to go down on the mat. This is a great way to always test it, no matter what specialty material, no matter what brand heat transfer, no matter what brand vinyl, you can test that with. Okay, y'all, this next one is going to be important. Cricut has gotten a lot better about making sure if you select any type of heat transfer vinyl setting, it automatically turns mirror on. But for just the off chance that it doesn't automatically do it, if you're using a heat transfer vinyl, you must mirror, period. You've got to make sure mirror is on because you're cutting backwards, right? Because the transfer tape is built in, like we've been talking about. Do not forget to mirror it. This one right here, we actually forgot to mirror, but then this is the correct one that is actually mirrored. All right, so be careful to know, okay? It's very, very important that you make sure with any heat transfer vinyl material that it is making sure it is mirrored because you do not want to waste your entire sheet of heat transfer vinyl by just forgetting to press mirror. Again, it's going to cost you a lot of time, energy, and effort and material. So the next one also relates to vinyl and heat transfer vinyl, and I thought this would be a fun one to try to test. For any of those that try to come here and not use a weeding tool. If you don't know what a weeding tool is, it's something that everyone should have on hand. It's a tool that looks something like this. This is standard. If you have a Cricut, you better have multiple of these because I'm going to try to weed this with no weeding tool. And I just want to show you how impossible it is. So you may be like, Tanner, I do this all the time. I can do it without a weeding tool. Well, let me tell you, it's not gonna be easy, okay? First of all, this is really hard because there's so many pieces here. There's not a way for you to be able to get into the inner pieces without this right here. And I'm gonna give you a bonus tip in this case too. So this is the first version where I'm trying to manually weed this, okay? I just want you to see that if your weeding looks like this is a mistake. There's an easier, better way, all right? And I'm gonna show it to you. Okay, so look. I've first of all ripped up, it's folded, it's not great. Let me see here. Okay, so we've got this going. Here it is. Look at all these inner pieces that I still have to go, that I still have to do. Like this is not easy. Like I'm gonna have to go in here, like really look like, I got LASIK and y'all, I can barely see these lines. Like, I'm like, what is this? Okay, that's the wrong way. Like I'm already like ready to throw it out, okay? That's the wrong way. Let me teach you my secret. This is a bonus, okay? So I want you to grab a Cricut mat because what you need to understand about a Cricut mat is that this is your third hand. And what I mean by that is you can place any design you want. I usually cut it just like this. We're gonna talk about the brayer here in a second, but this is your third hand, okay? Very important. Typically, when I say to use the mat, people wanna weed like this on the mat. Wrong way, because then you're touching your mat and shortening its life. Flip it like this, and then look, it's your third hand. Look at how easy this is going to be. Boom, like this feels so relaxing to me. And look at what happens when you have your weeding tool in the right way. Your Cricut mat is holding it in place. You're able to do the same weeding we just did. It's able to go quicker. I can come in here to different pieces and pull it out. I can make sure it's going really well. So awesome. And this first weed doesn't have to happen on the mat because obviously you're getting in there and getting all of these pieces out. But where the mat comes in super handy is all of the inner pieces. So you can see, I'm just going through here, weeding all of these out, weeding. And then look, we can just come in here, weeding tool, boom. You see that? You see that? Boom. Let's see it again, boom. See it again, boom, boom. Super easy. Can hold a bunch of pieces. Super simple. You guys can see how easy that is. Just have a pile, have a little trash bin. I'll be able to clean that up in a second. And then voila, look at how easy that was. Look at how easy this was to weed. So good, so good. So now you can see we have this. So that is super handy. Which way looks easier? This one was so much simpler, so much better. All right, I think we're all guilty of this next one, and it's using the incorrect heat setting when we're working with heat transfer vinyl. You have to know the temperatures, and that is why if you're a Makers Learn member, we give you a tested and proven reference guide, because inside of here, you're going to see pages and pages of where you're going to be able to see no matter what material you're using, no matter what type of cotton and what type of iron-on or anything like that, you're going to get a heat setting. So for a cotton poly blend with everyday iron-on, which is what we traditionally use, it would be level 2 on the mini easy press, or specifically 315 degrees for 30 seconds. So if you don't have one of these and you're inside my membership, you're missing out. Get in there, print it out, look at it digitally. It's so important. So you see, you have to have level 2. Then what we're gonna do here is we're gonna put it on this little onesie, all right? So we're gonna take this design, we're gonna place it out here. Notice I'm about 2 fingers down from the top of the onesie. Obviously it's a smaller smaller one. We have this here, very important. And then look, we take the mini easy press and we're just applying heat. And the secret here, you can move a mini easy press more than you can a regular easy press. And all you have to look for with heat transfer vinyl is bubbles. As soon as you see like bubbling, that means it's adhered. So you can see, I see bubbles all over. And then what you're gonna be able to do is let this cool. I like to let it cool for just a couple of seconds. And then y'all, we're gonna be able to do the peel together. I just want you to see what happens when you have good results. When you actually do follow the instructions. Voila, boom. Sun Club, the baby is in Sun Club. Y'all, it's that easy. Like this does not have to be hard. Like, are y'all picking up what I'm putting down? Like, this is not rocket science. This is just following direction and not trying to willy-nilly it. Like, you've got to understand these key principles in crafting so you can have more fun. Sometimes it's going a little slower, double checking your work, and not just free sending it, because you've got to learn just these few mistakes that everyone makes so that you don't have them any longer. Now this next one is going to surprise someone. Did you know you can use Cricut Design Space completely free? You do not have to pay Cricut Design Space or Cricut Access. You can use that platform completely and utterly free. There's actually thousands of people who are Makers Gonna Learn members who use all of our artwork, all of our fonts completely free inside of Cricut Design Space. You don't have to pay for access to the software. What being an Access member does is give you access to a few tools that you don't have access to in the normal Cricut Design Space. Owning a Cricut machine, or not even owning a machine, you can use Cricut Design Space. Even if you're someone who doesn't own a Cricut yet, you can sign up for an account today, play around with the software, and that can help you decide a Cricut is right for you. So if you want to join Makers Gonna Learn and get access to over 20,000 amazing pieces of art, all of our education, and access to all of our fonts with a commercial use license, you can get started today for only $7. Yes, the price of a latte. You can join the membership, and we're gonna give you everything you need to get inspired so that you actually wanna craft. We're gonna educate you on actually how to do it, and we're gonna motivate you through our thorough, in-depth training. If you love this YouTube video, I know you're gonna love our courses even more. So get started today at the first link right down below. All right, y'all, how many of you are blaming the Cricut for bad cuts when, guess what? You haven't changed your blade in probably 2 years. Here's the deal. It is just like an oil change. Every 5,000 miles, every 50 to 100 cuts, depending on your material, you have got to be, first of all, examining the blade. And all I want you to do when you're getting bad cuts is I just want you to press it out and be like, is there any debris on there? You can kind of tell that there's some debris on ours currently. So you just want to be careful, and you can clean this off with aluminum foil, anything like that. But it may be time to actually change your blade. So all you do, this is a magnetic housing. Now, they have updated this for newer machines, but a lot of us still have this type of housing. All you do is press the button, and you're able to pull this blade out, and then a new one will magnetically snap in. Very easy to replace. You can see, very, very simple. You can see this is what the blade looks like. Nothing to be super scared of. This is it. First of all, there was a lot of craziness around mine. Like, mine needed cleaning bad. But all you do, you can press the button, just like so. Press the button, take it here, and then it'll kind of snap into place. So you can see it'll just snap into place like so. Beautiful. It's snapped in, and now we've cleaned it off. You could have placed a new one in there, and then bada bing, bada boo. If you are blaming your cuts without checking the blade housing and updating your blade every so often, unfortunately, this isn't, something to do every 6 months because we all craft so differently. You just can't blame the Cricut all the time. You have to see what's in your control to change it out, like the blade. All right, y'all, a big mistake that I see people make all the time is that they believe that they could just take their item, and I see where you're coming from, okay? They can take their item and just peel it off like this. If you are peeling things off your Cricut mat and it is ending up close to this, similar to this, look, you are hurting your material. I've seen this happen to cardstock. I've seen this happen to paper. I've seen this happen to vinyl, anything like that, okay? If it's curling up on you, you're doing it the wrong way. Let me show you the great way to do this, and it's really actually a lot easier. You actually do what I consider going with gravity. You take the Cricut mat and you go with gravity. You flip it around to the back, and look, without snapping the mat, because I have heard from you all saying, Tanner, I could snap the mat. You could, you just have to be really generous and slow. So you can hold down and then just peel it off like this. Ta-da! Which one would you rather have? Would you like to just peel it up, or would you like to go with gravity, where you get a perfect cut every single time? Because I don't know about you, this one I can't do anything with anymore. This is definitely what you need when it comes to your Cricut. All right, my friends, this next one, we are diving into Cricut Design Space, and I want you to understand something that is very important. When you are using a Cricut machine, Cricut only can do what you tell it to do. Unfortunately, just like we wish our spouse, our kids, everyone in our life could read our minds, Cricut Design Space has not figured out how to do that yet. But here is what I want you to understand. When you have multiple different pieces that you want to cut exactly how you have it positioned on the canvas, are you with me? You have to do something. And I want you to go over to the right bottom of Cricut Design Space. And I want you to find what looks to be the paper clip. That paper clip right there is called Attach. And the beautiful thing about Attach is it is going to hold all of the layers that you have selected together, and it's going to cut exactly where they are on the canvas on the mat. Because if you do not use this feature and you press make it, without it, guess what? It's going to try to save as much material as possible and move it all the way around. But you must be able to attach those layers that need to stay together by using that attach function. And that, my friends, is something that's going to save you. And a little bonus is that you can always unattach things. It's not permanent. It's not like weld. You can easily unattach things by selecting unattach at the bottom as well. So if you ever want to move things around, change it up, things like that, it is super, super incredible, and you will love using attach. All right, this next one, we're still in Design Space, and I want to make sure you understand a big mistake people make is overshooting the Cricut's ability by using too thin of fonts. If you're using something that looks a little too thin, that you're afraid it won't cut out right, if you're afraid it won't, do anything like that properly, I want to invite you to use a thicker font or add an offset. Doing one of those two things are going to save you time and time again, because there are quite a few fonts, especially if you're trying to cut it really small, that it just simply can't cut. It would be too much trouble for you to weed, for you to cut, and trying to position it back when you're actively doing the craft project. I also always like to invite you guys, if you're not interested in switching fonts, to change it to a print and cut with an offset. Any small text, anything like that, if you switch it to a print and cut, of course, you can print a lot smaller text and then just have it cut along the edges with an offset. That's one of my favorite hacks to be able to do those thinner, smaller fonts. All right, this next one is, I'm talking to those of you who move your Cricut around, travel with your Cricut, and you are having trouble with print and cut. You must recalibrate your print and cut every single time you travel with your Cricut. Shaking that Cricut machine around actually moves around the sensors and things like that. So you want to make sure you calibrate your Cricut, or your print and cut can be up to 1/4 of an inch off, which is not going to give you a great cut. It's not going to give you true lines, and it's going to make you ruin your project. So be sure to head over to Cricut, connect to your printer, and go through a fresh print and cut calibration anytime you travel with your Cricut. And if you haven't done it in a while and you notice your print and cut not lining up well, it is time for a fresh calibration to make sure it is flawless for your next project. All right, my friends, one of the biggest things that you need to understand how to do is when you lay anything on your Cricut mat, I don't just like to lay it on there, right? Because it can move around. There's all sorts of things that can happen, anything like that. What I want you to do once you lay it down is I want you to use a brayer. The biggest mistake I see people do is just lay it down here and think it's ready to go. This is not ready to go. It is literally able to move around. You've got to be able to take it and braid this down just like so. So once you braid it down, you can see it's on the mat, it's secured, and it's not going anywhere. So once the blade starts cutting this, it is going to stay put versus if you just laid it down, it would not be able to get as secured on the mat, leaving more room for error. And I don't want you to waste any sheet of material ever. Speaking of wasting material, I don't want you guys to waste any material by cutting out an image and realizing it's the wrong size. I see this happen far too often. Your new motto is measure twice, cut once. As long as you can measure twice and cut once, you are going to have accurate cuts. You're going to have cuts that are ready to go on Cricut, and it's going to allow you to make your project look better than ever by actually making sure that the image is the right size. This is the #1 way that we save material, by just making sure we double check our work before pressing make it. All right, my friends, this is the #1 mistake. The #1 thing that everyone is doing to mess up their Cricut projects. And I see it inside of my own friends' homes too often, and I don't want any of you to ever make this mistake. So I'm going to teach you what's the bad way and what's the right way. Are you ready? And it's this: not kerning script fonts. This is the #1 thing that I can easily see a Cricut newbie versus a pro. Are you kerning your script fonts? Do you understand how script writing actually works? Because here's the deal. You have to go in and kern those fonts to make sure they look super professional before you cut. And this right here is the #1 thing that I see people mess up all the time. So here's what you do. You head over to Cricut Design Space, and you can see if you type something out, it's not gonna look perfect. So what I want you to understand is that always, #1, we use letter spacing to kind of tighten it up, to bring it in, and that's a really easy way to do it. But you can always ungroup your letters to just every letter be grouped to itself. And then you can manually move any of these letters around to actually depict what it would be like actually writing it. So no matter which way you go, just using the letter space route or manually kerning it by ungrouping the letters separately and manually kerning, whenever you're complete, you would simply be able to weld these together. And then it'll be perfect for you to have kerned letters, kerned words that are going to look just like you hand lettered this professionally. And that, my friends, is the #1 thing I see people making a mistake about too often than not. So, which of these mistakes were your favorite? I had so much fun running through over 15 of these. There were so many extra ones I actually added in here. I don't know if you caught that. That's why I had to stop counting, because there was probably close to 20 different things that the people seem to always do that drives me nuts. So which one was your favorite? Leave me a comment down below. Let me know how many years you've been Cricut crafting, and I can't wait to see you at our next video. But in the meantime, if you're ready to get started, if you're ready for me to be your mentor when it comes to crafting like never before, go ahead and get started in Makers Can Learn right down below for the price of a latte. I am so excited to see you in there, where I can teach you everything about crafting, give you access to all of our cut files, all of our fonts, and member-only resources. I've mentioned a couple of those in the video today, but there are far more you're missing out on. So get inside the membership, join our Facebook community. We can't wait to hang out, and I'll see you back here in the next video. Until then, happy crafting. Bye, guys.